Yo boys, back with another video. Today we are going to be doing the most fun tier list classes to play. Now this is obviously based on personal experience and all that good stuff. So I'm going to be telling you what I have the most fun with and all that good stuff. Before we start this video, if you're interested in carries, coaching, or any other service, make sure to hit me up on my personal Discord down below. Otherwise, let's get on to the video here. I'm going to try to make it as swift as possible. That way we're not making a 40-minute video. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, first spec we are going to be going with is going to be Rogue. Sub-Rogue for me, even if it's based off Secret Tech, has always just been a really fun class for me to play. Obviously, it's not always the best, and it can always be chunky and boring to me, but I think this season and the next expansion, it should be really fun to play, at least for a little while. And I've always enjoyed the fact that Sub-Rogue was just a purely, you had to do a lot of things to win. You have to do a bunch of setups. Just have to do things at certain times, and it just makes the class fun to me. So I think Sub Rogue, a very fun class, a very hard class to master, but once you do get it down, I guarantee you'll enjoy it. Next one that we're going to be going over is Assassination, which I think is going to be A tier. Assassination kind of just feels like a boring rotation. It's just go rote spamming and Rupture. You don't really hit any Fat Venoms or anything like that. It's kind of just like you don't really feel satisfied with your damage. You just feel like, you know, everything's slowly dying, and then you have that amount of burst damage just there. I don't know. To me, I have fun with it. I had fun with it in season 1 of Dragonflight, but other than that, I didn't really enjoy it at all, to be honest. Outlaw Rogue, I really just didn't enjoy at all. I just cannot. I could never get into Outlaw, even when it was really good. I just couldn't. I don't like the rotation. It just feels like I'm PvEing and PvP. Like at least Assassin, it feels somewhat. It's like okay, well I get it. But in Outlaw, it just feels totally, just completely and utterly PvE. It doesn't even feel like a spec that should be in PvP. So I don't really have fun playing it, and I really never did. So next spec that I'm gonna be going over is going to be Warrior. Arms Warrior, I think is actually pretty fun. I think the fact that you have big MS, you're basically always doing something, and obviously where it might not be like Fury Warrior or DH, it still feels super satisfying to hit those big executes or big damage abilities, and just having a lot to just to be able to do something. Now, obviously. The reason it's not S tier is because it is a wheelchair class. It really does struggle hitting stuff, especially like casters and stuff like that. But overall, I think the class is fun, and even if it's not the best, I still think the class design is really good. Next class I'm gonna be going over is Fury. I think Fury is a very fun class because you're always hitting something, and you're just always doing something. It's not like you ever feel bored. You're always doing max damage. You're always hitting things. You're always just doing something, which it's just like there's not really outplay. There's kind of just you just straight up PvEing. Obviously, um, personally, I have enjoyed it a good amount. I think Fury Warrior is just a class that you play whenever you want to chill and you're just trying to hit stuff and you just want to see people dying. So, I think Fury Warrior is really fun. Now it does have a basic generic rotation, but I think that rotation, is worth doing mainly because even if it's like a two-button rotation, to be honest, every class is a two-button rotation, but I definitely think you guys will enjoy playing Fury Warrior on top of, Sub Rogue. The next spec I'm going to be going over is going to be, I'm not doing any tanks really, um, is going to be Shaman. Enhancement Shaman, I honestly personally think that it's going to be up there. I think Enhancement Shaman's an A tier. Obviously, this is not based off how good it is. I think the rotation and everything around Enhance is what makes it really unique. Um, getting procs and being able to just do max damage randomly or on, certain times, it feels great. Obviously, it hasn't been the best in a very long time, but when it is meta, a lot of people are playing this spec, and it's kind of like a Fury Warrior, just with like steroided burst. That's what really, what you would want it to be like. That's basically what it is, except obviously a weaker version. Next fight I'm gonna be going over is WrestleSham. I think WrestleSham is an A tier for healing wise. I think you can do a lot of things as WrestleShaman. Your Riptide spamming, your Totem spamming. You can pre-earthen stuns. You can pre-ground, pre-tremor. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do that are just make it fun. Now, Would I say it's S tier fun? Personally, no. I haven't really just been like, I haven't been in the Resto Shaman like that really. Like I've enjoyed it. It's been okay. It's been whatever. But I haven't been like, oh, well, I want to play a spec every season. The next spec that we're going to be going over is going to be Ellie. Ellie, I think is very fun, to be honest. I think it's S tier fun. I think the fact that this is the one spec that bases off of big procs, other than like enhancement, just between Shaman, just going off those big lava burst procs and just being able to feel like you're always be able to hit something and do something. You're not just forced to rely off one cooldown to do all your damage, and you're kind of just chilling. You're able to relax, hit whatever you want to hit, and just do damage to everything. I think Eloy's a very fun spec, and you always feel like you're doing something in the game, and you're not just, oh well, I can't cast because I'm getting kicked. It's, oh no, I don't have to cast. I just do permanent damage. So I think Ellie's a very fun spec, and you're going to see a lot of them. Even if they're not the best, you'll still see a good amount of them. I still think Ellie's a very fun spec, and we'll just have to see what you guys think. Next one that we're going to be going over is going to be Lock. Destro Lock to me is going to be A tier. I think Destro is a very well designed spec. Now sometimes it can be really OP or sometimes it can be really bad. It really all depends on how good you are as a player playing it. But um I think the fact that Chaos Bolt just does all your damage or big amounts of damage is just super satisfying to watch somebody go from 100% to 50% in a Chaos Bolt. It's just like, I don't know, to me it just feels good when you do big damage like that. The next one that we're going to be going over is Demo Lock. Demo Lock to me is going to be not very fun. Same thing as Outlaw to me. I don't really like specs that rely off of bots. I think they're very PvE. Not they're just super generic. They don't have any unique to their spec. It's simply, oh, I summon pets, they do all the work for me, and then I'm just like a fear and stun bot. That just doesn't sit well with me. I don't think these specs should be like anywhere near PvP, but that's just my opinions on that. Next spec that I'm going over is going to be Affy Lock. Now Affy, I actually have instead of it being where Demo is, it's gonna be A tier. I think Affy is a super fun spec to play. You're killing stuff all the time, and it feels like you're never out of juice. So, if people dispel, you're just doing big damage. You always feel like you have some way out. You have port, you have double wall, you have Hellstone. I think overall, Affylock's definitely pretty solid, and obviously it is PvE and it is like it can be boring, but I think it's fun enough to where it's like, okay, well, if you're playing an Affylock, you're just laughing at everybody else while everyone's just dying to air. So that's how I feel about that. Next spec that we're gonna be going over is Mage. Frost Mage, I think is gonna be S tier. Frost Mage is the same thing as Ellie. You always feel like you have something to press, and now that Frost Mage is just based off of ice lances and stuff like that, you're kind of just chilling. You're just doing the same thing as an Ella. You're sitting in the back, relaxing. You're not stressing about, oh, well, if I can't get this cast off, then I can't do any damage. It's kind of just, okay, I lay back, I do damage, and I can chill. Next fight, I'm going over Fire Mage. Fire Mage is unfortunate. It's been based around an AoE build for so long that it no longer has its unique taste to it. So I think Fire Mage is going to be down with B. They turned Fire Mage into like some AoE fest. I'm not sure why. Um, Not just based off how good it is, but just based off of what they turned the spec into. It used to be really fun, and you used to be able to do stuff with it. You used to be able to play comps with it, but now it just feels like, oh well, if I'm not playing an AoE build, then it kind of just sucks, and it's boring. It's a generic, you know, two button rotation that just doesn't feel like good anymore. So not only is it not based off of like how good it is, but it just feels boring to me. Uh, like currently was. Next play that I'm gonna be going over is Arcane. I think Arcane is actually a really fun spec. I think Arcane overall is a really fun spec, and it has a very strange like rotation to it. It's not like you're just pushing one button, but you're pressing many, and you're always moving around. You're always doing things in the game. It feels really smooth, and unfortunately, it's not the best, but it is a very fun, unique spec. And it's not just like it has several uses to it. I think it's very fun. especially while leveling. I had the most fun leveling playing an Arcane Mage. The next one that we're going to be going over is going to be Druid. Boomie, I think is also going to be A tier. I think Boomie, obviously you're spamming cyclones. You're just doing so much in the game. Again, you're always doing something. Now it can get a little bit frustrating when you're facing melees and you're not able to go out of form. You're not able to cast. But at the same time, everyone gets bad lobbies. But I think overall the class design is good. You know, you have a lot of CC. You have a lot of burst. You have a lot of just everything pretty much. So I think it's actually a well-rounded spec, and you're not just sitting there just hitting one target. You're able to just consistently do things that would help you win games. Next one that we're going to be going over is Feral Druid. Feral Druid is kind of a weird spec to me. I think current Feral Druid is boring. Hot take. I think current Feral Druid is so based around doing big bites, and it's no longer based around doing any type of bleed damage or anything else. It's all rounded on doing that one big bite, and it's no longer, the class is no longer a special class. It's not like, oh, it used to be like an assassination rogue with a little bit of sub rogue damage. Now it just feels like it's trying to be too hard to be a sub rogue, and then it just does no damage after its burst. I don't like specs that try to copy other specs, and I know how Feral used to be because I played Feral. Feral back in the day was never about big bites. It was getting your bleeds up and just doing consistent pressure. And then even in Shadowlands, when it was Convoke, I enjoyed that even. I enjoyed that too. I was fine with Convoke because it was all based around that one ability and it wasn't just copycat. But now it just feels so like it just feels like a wannabe sub rogue that no longer has a special effect to me. Next pick that we going over is Resto. Hot take. Again, I think Resto is one of the most fun healers in the game. Even if it's broken, even if it wasn't broken, like top number one, I think overall, you just have so much things to be doing as a Resto. If everyone's full HP, you can go in and do damage. If you can't do damage, you can go CC. If you can't CC, there's just so much things that you can always be pressing to be doing something. You always feel like you have healing, and it never feels like, you're just doing something useless. You're always doing something that helps. So I think Resto is a very fun spec, and a lot of people are going to enjoy this expansion especially. So if you're looking to play a healer, Resto is going to be your go-to healer. Next one that we're going to be going over is going to be Tank Druid. I think Tank Druid, I'm just going to rate only DH and Tank because obviously I think these are the most fun. I think this is S tier fun. Actually, let me think here, ladies and gentlemen. So for tank-wise, I'm going to put both here. I might put this down here. I think DH tank, if you guys have ever faced a DH tank in RPGs, these are one of the most fun specs to play in an RPG if you're tanking. You're literally kiting everybody in the entire game. It feels like you're unstoppable, and I feel like DH has to be the most fun thing, especially if you know how to play it. So, I'm just gonna keep these tanks here because these are gonna be not only your only viable, but you can't really have fun playing any other tank spec in general because they're just that bad. And I just I just don't think even if we're not basing it off of how bad a class is, I think just in general these other specs aren't that fun. I think the most fun out of all these tanks is going to be DH, Druid, and then Brewmaster. So I'll put Brewmaster as C, but otherwise we're gonna keep it there. Just because I think Brewmaster is a fun. If you guys remember in Solo Shuffle where tanks were getting 3k CR, that was these guys, the Brewmasters. It's because they have a super weird way of doing things. They have CC, they have damage. It's just super weird. But the next one that we're going to be going over is going to be Hunter. Hunter, I honestly think it's kind of, I don't know. How do I feel about Hunter? I'm trying to think. I'm gonna keep it there for now. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna go with BM Hunter first. BM Hunter is obviously super generic. I think sure the damage is satisfying, but we're not really talking about overall good. Just it's a boring rotation that's been the same for a very long time, and it really would need a rework to make it fun again. It just feels like a spec that doesn't feel fun. It just feels super generic, super boring. It's kind of like Demo Luck. You just let your pets do everything, and you're just chilling in the back. I don't know. To me, it lost its touch a long time ago, and I haven't really enjoyed it. Next one that we're going to be going over is going to be Survival. I think Survival is going to be A tier. I think Survival is a great, rounded spec, and it definitely is enjoyable. I think if you're looking to play Hunter, Survival is going to be your go-to. I think Survival Hunter is the most fun out of all three specs. Obviously, it's not the best usually, and it's usually shadowed by everyone else. But I think it's a very fun. You're throwing bombs, you're doing just a bunch of things in the game that just it just makes it fun. So I don't know. I think survival is definitely the most fun out of all two or like out of all three specs. But with MM, I think MM is kind of weird. Um, I think I'm gonna put it at A tier mainly because the burst damage is super satisfying. Like when you get everything off and you finally get to actually play your class, it's like the greatest moment of all time. You're just doing stuff and you're always doing big damage. Obviously now that it's nerfed, you're not doing big damage all the time. But I think just doing rapid fires in the aim shots and kill shots and just a bunch of stuff like that is even though it's a basic rotation, I think it's just super sad. It's like a Destro lock. Once you actually get it off, you're just pumping, and you're just getting the satisfaction of doing big damage. The next spec that we're gonna go with is going to be Evoker. Dev Evoker is going to be super satisfying for most people. Um, it's again a basic rotation and all of that. But again, it's the same thing as Destro Warlock and MM and Sub Rogue and stuff like that. It's just the satisfaction rate of being able to burst something and kill something and feel like you matter in the game. It's not just, oh, well, they click one button and they tank all my damage and I can't do anything. It's, oh, well, I do all of this. I do my 4-button rotation to get all my burst up, and then I fly over them. It's a weird class that ends up being super fun because it's not like any other spec in the game. There's no spec like Dragon. There's just not. Like their abilities are just they were made to be different. Obviously, there's some things alike, but overall, I think it's a very rounded spec. Even if it gets boring clicking 2-button rotations, I still think it's fun in general. Pres Evoker. How do I feel about Pres Evoker? Personally, have I enjoyed Pres Evoker? Honestly, yes, I have. But have I enjoyed enough to put it at S tier? I think of Pres Evoker is a really good spec, and it has unique abilities. But does it feel like S tier fun to me? Um, I don't know. I really don't. But I'm gonna go to AUG for right now until I realize what I want to put that at. AUG is obviously to me, it's gonna be honestly probably the worst. They turned it into a completely, utterly like boring spec. They tried to turn it into a Dev Evoker, and then they butchered it, and they never worked with it again. It's basically a class that is just terrible. Not only is it terrible, but it's designed so terribly bad that even if it was good, I still wouldn't play it. That's how boring it looks to me. I haven't even played it. Next one that we're going to be going off is obviously Pres Evoker. I think Pres Evoker to me is also going to be A tier. I think, again, the abilities and everything coming together are just super nice. You just have a lot of cooldowns to work with, and it's super fun to just be able to do things at all times. You have damage, you have abilities. I wouldn't say it's as fun as Disc Priest, but I definitely would say it's fun. Its healing does feel a little bit basic and stuff like that, but at the same time, I guess every healer is kind of as basic, to be honest, so it is what it is. Next bit I'm going to be going over is DK. So Unholy DK and Frost DK, I think Frost DK is going to be personally A tier, but I like the satisfaction rate of being able to do burst goes like that and it mattering. So like if I do a burst go like that, my class is designed to have to do burst to do damage. Specs like that to me are just really fun, and I'd enjoy it. And same thing as Unholy DK, which I think is also really fun. I think DK in general is a very well class. You're always doing something. You always feel like you have something to press, and you're just able to chill. It's not like a super high end stake where you're playing a sub rogue and you end up blazing and they CC you on it, and then I just have no damage for the rest of the game. No, you just consistently being able to do things. So I think both DK specs are really fun, and you'll definitely see a good amount of them. Next spec that we're going to be going over is going to be Disc Priest. I think Disc Priest is going to be a S tier fun, not even lying. I think Disc Priest, you have so many cooldowns to go through. You have, if you're not healing somebody, you can be doing damage. If you're not doing damage to somebody, you can go and CC. If you're not CCing somebody, you just have so many options. If you want to do something, you can do it. Now, sometimes it's not the greatest, but I think right now, currently, It's a really fun rounded spec to play. You just have so much things you can be doing instead of just sitting there and just like behind a pillar and doing nothing. So, I think these two are just very, just fun to play in general. Next spec, SP. I think SP is obviously a fun spec. It's not the greatest all the time and all that good stuff, but I think you have a lot of things to be doing as an SP. You can be MDing CC off your teammates. You can be gripping them, off healing them. You can be doing damage to the main target, all targets. You can push them for CC. You have a bunch of CDs to be pre-using. You just have a lot of things to keep keep you on your feet. You don't feel like you're bored playing an SP. Like you're not just sitting back and well, I have one button to click. No, you have just so many things you can be doing that can help, and I think you're always it makes the class to where you're always doing something. Next spec that I'm going over is Holy Priest, which I think lost its way a long time ago. It's now just some generic, you know, I don't know. I just don't. I haven't enjoyed Holy Priest since Shadowlands. It used to feel like it had a unique flavor to it, but now it kind of just feels like, oh, I click Serenity, and now all my other abilities just feel terrible, and you know I don't have any defensive abilities that can help my team. It just feels really dumb, and the fact that they haven't done anything with it is just it doesn't feel satisfying playing this spec. Not anymore. Next spec that I'm going over is Windwalker, which I think is obviously A tier. I played Windwalker, so yeah, I think Windwalker is gonna be a really fun spec, and you're gonna see a good amount of them. They do the burst pressure again. Burst specs like that get you're just getting a ton of satisfaction just doing huge damage, and that's pretty much that. There's really no introduction needed for Windwalker. It's just a fun spec to play. Obviously, defensively, it can be absolutely gut wrenching, or gut wrenching is what I meant. But all well. Mistweaver, I think Mistweaver to me again lost its taste and flavor for me. I think it's a very generic rotation of healing. It's very boring. It's like a wannabe Resto Druid slash like Holy Priest. I don't really know how to explain it. It just doesn't feel good to me. It not only does it not feel good, but like I mean good in terms of like fun to play. My bad, I had to get some water. So yeah, I definitely don't like Mistweaver. I've never liked Mistweaver. I just think it's generic, it's boring, it tries too hard to be something it's not. It doesn't have its uniqueness, and it just tries too hard to be like a predator. And again, you could say these copy these, but when a class copies yours and ends up making it more fun to play, it feels like these are just super boring and not really that fun. Brett Paladin, same category. Unfortunately, they just haven't done anything to these classes. These classes have been the same for like 10 years, and they've just done nothing to fix it, nothing to make it more enjoyable. It just feels super generic. I'm clicking two buttons, and sure, the burst can be like, fun to use, but off your burst, you just feel like a wheelchair, and then on top of that, you just feel like you're just, oh, I have to wait 2 minutes for my wings to be able to hit anything. Yeah, that just doesn't feel enjoyable for me. Like, at least with Sub Rogue, you're able to do multiple things at once. Even if you don't have damage, you can be helping your team. As a Ret, all you can do is Hodge the healer and just hit them with your, small amounts of, like, damage, which doesn't really feel, it doesn't sound right with me. And I don't know, to me, it just doesn't feel like a fun spec I play. And the funny thing is, I started out playing Ret the first time I ever played WoW, a very long time ago. The first class I leveled and played was a Ret Paladin, and then I went into a H-Pal after that, and then I went into a Rogue. Next spec I'm going to be going over is going to be H-Pal. I think H-Pal is a very designed spec, and now it is usually bad, but I think H-Pal, the most fun I've had healing was playing an H-Pal and a Resto Druid. That's facts. I think these specs are these are the most fun I've ever had playing these specs. I played Disc a little bit, but I did enjoy Disc as well. So these three, I had the most fun playing. And mainly I had the most fun playing H-Pal because it has just a unique thing where, oh, I need to be bopping at certain points. I need to be pre-sacking. I just have so many options that I can do. And even though they're not the greatest, just being able to play it is super nice, and it definitely feels solid. I actually enjoy playing HPL a lot, even if it was absolute cancer trying to push. I'm not really talking about it being good pushing wise, but just overall, I think I had a good time. I think the class is fun, and it sucks that it's never really good, but I think it's a very enjoyable class to play. Just overall. Now DH is going to be A tier for me. I think DH is a very rounded spec. And again, a lot of these specs are just like each other, to be honest. Specs that just can go in and kind of just PvE, and it's not like a bot doing all your damage for you, and it's physically you doing it, are going to be more fun than a class that's like BM Hunter, you know, something like that, or like Demo Lock. So let me know what you guys thought about this tier list. Obviously, there may be some things I can change, but this is just a personal tier list. Like when I played these, that's what I had the most fun with. Not because they're just necessarily broken, but because it's just you always feel like you have something to be doing, and it's not you're just well, I'm sitting there and I'm just hitting my one button rotation and I'm just doing I'm relying off one thing to do everything, and I'm just doing a bunch of things. So, you could say the same about Dev Evoker, but I feel like Dev, you're just doing so much in the game. You're just doing so much. Even if, Disintegrate or whatever is doing your top damage, it just feels like you always have something to be doing. It's not like, other classes where you feel like you're just, the damage isn't satisfying and you're just sitting back. Now, some of these may be able to be switched again, but this is a personal like limit on these. So, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys thought about this video. If you liked, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, it's been X, and I will see you guys in the next one.